under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The city clerk, please take roll.
Wanda Sang.
Here.
Joe DeMott.
Here.
Joyce J.
Here.
Davis Reinhardt.
Here.
Mike Stites.
Here.
Tracy Langworthy.
Here.
Karen Adams.
Here.
And Karen Berry.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of August 9th, 2010?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember DeMott. Changes to the minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to move that we continue approval of the minutes until the August 30th meeting. There were some, what I believe are errors in the summarization of the comments of several citizens. I did email the clerk, but he hadn't had a chance to really go back and listen to the tape or to talk to those citizens to make sure that their comments were summarized correctly.
So there's a motion to postpone the minutes until the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to postpone, second by Councilmember Adams. Discussion on the postponement. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 7-1 with Councilmember Stites voting no.
Thank you. We have some presentations tonight, so I'll bring down to the podium. So I'd ask Thomas Currigan or Monica to please come forward, and Livewell Wheat Molly Hanson, please step forward. Back in the spring of this year, we had a relay team, a city relay team that ran in the Colfax Marathon, and that team was sponsored by the mayor's office, and those participants were Michael Snow, Davis Reinhardt, Heather Geyer, Adam Teets, and Sarah DeTulio, a high school student, and we were fortunate enough to win part of the relay. So we have Monica here to talk about that, and Molly. Originally, the funds that we were going to, if we did win, we're going to go to the Public Guard at 38th and Kipling, but we were told that the money should go for health-related services, so none other better than Livewell Wheat Ridge. So we have those folks here tonight to talk about it. So we have Molly here, and Monica, please step forward, and you can bring up anybody you want to also from your organizations.
Thank you, Mayor. It is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight and award Wheat Ridge a recognition for having the third largest number of participants in the marathon for a municipality in proportion to the number of residents in the community, so that their population size was taken out. Many of you may know Kaiser Permanente as a health plan. We provide services to over 500,000 members in 20 medical offices. As a health plan, we provide integrated care and member-centric care. As a nonprofit health plan, we are proud that we also have a mission to improve the health of the communities where we provide services. And that is what we've done through the Colfax Marathon. We were the sponsor of the Colfax Marathon for the second year, and we also tried to integrate in this concept of wellness. We believe that people should have healthy choices where they live, where they work, where they play, where they learn, and where they receive services. So we have a commitment to creating healthy places and having the healthy choice be the easy choice. It is particularly an honor tonight to give this award to the city and to Livewell Wheat Ridge, because there's a lot of leadership being exemplified here. Wheat Ridge has done many amazing things to support the health of residents, and Livewell Wheat Ridge is actually something that has come out of Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente was one of the founding funders of Livewell Colorado and provides the evaluation of the efforts of Livewell Colorado. And we are very proud of the partnership that has been forged between Livewell Wheat Ridge and the city of Wheat Ridge. And we recognize all the amazing work that you all have done to make sure that the residents in Wheat Ridge have the healthy choice as the easy choice wherever they are. This check I will give to you so that we can award to Livewell Wheat Ridge, but I want to recognize Michelle DePiccolo, who is with the Colfax Marathon. So this was a partnership between both of us. And partners, do you want to recognize her? Hi,
Hi, my name is Molly Hanson. I'm the Live Well Wheat Ridge coordinator. I represent the coalition and the staff. I really want to thank very much the mayor, the mayor's office, the team that participated. As you know, we are the Healthy Eating Active Living Coalition. We are represented by businesses, by the community, by schools, and by many, many sectors. I'd also like to just really thank and acknowledge some coalition members. We have Scott Shields, the CEO of Family Tree. He is a part of our leadership. We also have Amy Dillon. She is the Healthy Schools Coordinator for Jeffco Public Schools and Wheat Ridge Coalition member. So again, thank you so much for these funds, and we look forward to putting them to good work to reduce and prevent obesity. Thank you.
Also, as part of the recognition, we have some recipe books for all of the city council, healthy recipe books. So we'd like to share that with all of you as well. And, yeah.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Molly. Appreciate it. Monica, did you want your notes? Okay. Oh, wow. These are really thick.
Enjoy. Thanks.
We have some real nice books that were donated, Eating Well in Season, so we'll be passing those out to City Council after the meeting. They're pretty heavy and pretty big, so. The next positive thing we have tonight is Kathy Deitch. Could you please come forward with Cedar and all of your crew? Kathy is a big supporter of Foothills Animal Shelter. She's also a Wheat Ridge resident. She's on the Animal Control Commission. Heather, did you want to help us with? She has a two-screen PowerPoint presentation that she wanted to talk about Foothills Animal Shelter. It has sound, but our sound doesn't work here. And then we have some funds to give out to Kathy in lieu of for the Foothills Animal Shelter. Oops. I'll step on Cedar here.
Kathy, when you want to touch the second slide, just hit that arrow key.
Oh, okay. This one?
There you go.
So it's this button, right? Well, I want to thank the mayor for the opportunity to be here this evening. It's always exciting to talk to a city council about something that's so special to our hearts, and that's the animals. The first question that we would like to pose is, are you a friend of Cedars? These are some of the places that she lives and works in Jefferson County and in Wheat Ridge. Now, she's a candidate for mayor of everywhere and anywhere. And, of course, she wants you to vote for her. And this is how you do that. It's $1 equals one vote. You stack the ballot box for the animals, because all of the money that she's collecting goes to the Foothills Animal Shelter, the new shelter, that, by the way, is having its grand opening this next Saturday. So she wants you to stack the ballot box, to vote early and vote often. Now, if we can get this to back up here a minute. Cedar announced the other day that she has a running mate, and her running mate is here this evening. Can we get this started again? When Cedar first announced for mayor, many people said, well, I can vote for a dog, but, you know, I have a cat. So Cedar kind of looked around, and she has 3 of those at home, and she thought, well, Hillary would be perfect. So Hillary the cat and Cedar announced the other day that she was going to be Cedar's deputy mayor. So now the 2 of them are asking, again, stack the ballot box for the animals, vote 4 legs and a tail. The sound really made this, so I apologize.
There we go.
There's Hillary. And of course, Cedar said that Hillary is smart, adorable, competent, and ready to go. And yes, you betcha we take special interest money for the animals. Human help is needed to end pet homelessness, to spay and neuter, tag, license, and chip your pet, and to give money to the local shelter. So, Cedar and Hillary are a team you can believe in. We ask you to vote for them, and we want to thank you all very much for donating tonight to the Foothills Animal Shelter on behalf of Cedar for Mayor. So, just one other thing is that there's an IGA in place that if the monies aren't raised for the foundation in 5 years, the responsibility could fall back on the cities. So I want to bring that to your attention because I think it's a real, financial support is a small request for the animals. And for all of you that have animals, I'd just like to remind you of the unconditional love that they give us, the eagerness to see us after a long day, and certainly their total forgiveness. All things I know that I could practice more often in my life. So, thank you very much.
I would ask Joyce J. and Wanda Sang to please come on down too. What we did is the mayor's office has a public outreach budget, and we contributed $250 in lieu of going to a banquet for the Foothills Animal Shelter. The mayor's office decided to do $250. Also, to match those funds, council members J. and Sang donated $250 from their meeting budgets. So I was going to ask them to please give their money to Kathy Deitch. So it was a total of $750 for the Foothills Animal Shelter, and that's 750 votes for Cedar. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Kaiser, and thank you, Live Well Wheat Ridge. So the next item on the agenda is citizens' right to speak. Citizens' right to speak is reserved for members of the public who wish to speak on any item not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes. Others may donate their time to the speaker at the podium for a total of 9 minutes. When you are speaking at the podium, you will see a green light when you start speaking, a yellow light when you have 30 seconds left, and a red light when your time is up. So if you're here for public comments on something not on the agenda, please step forward to the podium and spell your last name for the record, and your city and or your address.
Hi, my name is Ginger Hartup. The last name is spelled Hartup. I'm here, well, my address is 9647 West Arizona Avenue in Lakewood, 80232. And I'm here to, first I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am here tonight on behalf of Second Wind of Metro Denver. And some of you might know who we are, but for those who don't know who we are, I'm sorry, Mom. For those, we are a teen suicide prevention organization that provides fees for professional therapy to youth who are at risk of suicide and who might face some financial barriers. We serve the whole entire Denver metro area, and we have had some referrals out of Wheat Ridge, and each school in Wheat Ridge does know who we are. We started in Lakewood in 2002, unfortunately after a string of suicides happened at a local high school. We are now the largest mental health provider for youth in Colorado with a 100% success rate. I'm very excited to say that we have helped 1,840 children, and not one of them have lost their life to suicide. To fund this new program, the founders decided to have a walk, bike, and run. And it is now the largest suicide prevention event in the nation. So that's why I'm here. I'd like to invite you guys out to the Jeffco Fairgrounds on September 19th and join us to help raise money to provide services for children who are at risk of suicide. This event is, I'm looking for the yellow light, I can't see it. But this event is for all ages, all athletic abilities. We have little 3-year-olds who even get out there on their bike and make it. And it's a great event. It's a lot of fun. Each participant get a barbecue, lunch, and we have booths for children, and we also have live music. So I encourage you all to come join us. And if you need more information about Second Wind Fund, we are at www.swfdm.com. If you have a child who's at risk, please contact us. And if you'd like to join us, please register there too. So thank you very much for letting us speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please spell your last name for the record and state your city and your address.
Congratulations, Michael, for Saturday. He's a newlywed. My name is Jan Kissel, last name Kissell. I live at 4115 Upham Street. I'll make it short. Mr. Stites, do you remember 2 years ago when I was here on the dumpster? Okay. They went back. I just got another letter and everything, and they're talking about the 1.0 and the 1.5. They don't make them. I was up here this last week and stuff and talked to Christy, and they assured me that I didn't know what I was talking about, which really upset me. I went home. I got the information that I had given to the girl last year, people to call, Waste Management, Republic, and also the company who actually makes the canister for all of these, and told her to call them to find out about the size. Well, obviously she didn't, but I was told she did, which I'm saying she didn't. Anyway, I went home, got the information again. I came back up to upstairs and had Christy. I had Christy call while I was standing there, and guess what? The smallest one they make is a 2.0 for residential and everything else. They have not made a 1.0 or 1.5 for over 20 years. So I would like for your amendment 26214 to please be amended to the right size so I don't get another one of these letters. We are following all the stuff that was told that we had to do. My husband came up, and according to this, that we have to do at least 3 sides because the way the dumpster sets so as you come up Upham Street, you can see it. And also on the side that is Upham Street. And we were told, Christy told me, but you don't have to do the back because we face the apartment houses and everything. Well, we got a call and stuff saying, yes, we do. So my gripe is, if I have to protect them from seeing my dumpster, then I would appreciate the apartment house to close their back of their dumpster. So when I leave my house in the morning or go out on my patio, I don't have to see the back of their dumpster. I figure what's good for one is good for all. Okay? So I would like a letter saying that this has been amended to a 2.0, which is the smallest dumpster they make. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought we had taken care of that a couple years ago on Upham, Wanda. Yeah, if I remember right, didn't we take care of all that on?
Ken, do you have any comments?
We presented several options for City Council to consider just about a year ago for different ordinance modifications to address the issue that had come up, which is the availability of, at that time, we had a maximum size of 1 cubic yard for residential dumpsters. The research that we did at that time determined that indeed 1 cubic yard dumpster were not really available. We did find that 1.5 and 2.0 were available, depended on the trash company, whether they had the 1.5 or not. I would certainly agree with Mrs. Kissel that not all trash companies have the 1.5, but in the options that we presented to City Council, we gave you the options from 1.5 to 2.0 to actually no restrictions on dumpster size, provided that they be screened. The ordinance that was ultimately passed placed the maximum at 1.5 cubic yards as the maximum residential dumpster size, and then required that they be screened, as Ms. Kissel described. So that's where we're at. That ordinance was approved in, I believe, September of last year.
On the letter that you got, was it stating that you had to have a 1.5? Or
Jan, can you
Okay.
come to the mic again, please?
If council would, or whoever would call Christy, she will tell you they don't make a 1.5 and haven't for over 20 years. I also gave last year the phone number to the people who actually make all the canisters for all of them. The only person that probably would have a 1.5 are maybe the little bitty independents and everything, which have literally been run out of business because the Waste Management, Republic, Alpine have basically taken over the whole system because they can dump for a lot less than anything. So I'd appreciate it if you would just go up tomorrow or something and talk to Christy, and she will verify exactly what I'm telling you right now. Swear to God, I'm telling the God's truth. They don't make anything smaller than a 2.0.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Johnstone, I think you'll check into that.
Well, again, if council wants to direct to change the ordinance, we can certainly consider that. But the research that we did indicated that there are 1.5s available, not from all companies. So we can do more research if that's the direction of council.
Well, I just think somehow, some way, I thought this was all handled. So if things have changed, then we need to change, and if they don't make the 1.5, then we need to go 2, as long as it's screened or whatever. I never saw a problem with it anyway. But,
You'll make a motion.
so I guess I would make a motion to have staff check into, what size, if we need to go to a 2.0 or make a motion to revisit that ordinance, and procedure on that.
Second.
We have a motion. It was seconded by Councilmember Sang. Discussion on the motion. Please, Ms. Adams.
As I understand it, at the time we researched it, evidently some carriers had a 1.5, but supposedly we're hearing that has not been the case for 20 years. So there's obviously just a discrepancy in the information that came to us at the time we did the ordinance. So I will support the motion to have it, I guess, to a study session, Mike, to make a friendly amendment that we bring it back to a study session with more information than we had before, I guess. So I'll be supporting that.
Okay, please poll the council on the motion.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Please spell your last name for the record.
Hi, my name is Erica Severson, Severson, and I live at 4665 Vance Street. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm actually here tonight to find out who sent the flyer that I'm holding here. I received this flyer last Sunday on August 15th. It says Wheat Ridge citizens need to know, and the person who took it at my house said it was from a city council person. Was there someone in the city council who might have delivered this flyer to my house?
What does it say?
It's Wheat Ridge citizens need to know there are 2 ballot questions voters will be reviewing in October. Then it goes through some pretty, sort of the evils of these 2 ballot measures. And then says, neither the governor of Colorado nor the president of the United States has that much power. Transparency is clouded. Checks and balances lost. One person in charge of our decisions, our budget, and the safety of our future. You decide. Is it a city council person who may have brought that to my house?
Evidently, it was someone that is opposed to the ballot questions that are on.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and because they didn't disclose
Right.
who they were that sent it out, a lot of times, in my opinion, that it really does not have any credibility.
Right, I would agree as a citizen. Yeah, there is an email address at the bottom of it. So I guess I was looking for if anyone knew what the source of it was.
Why don't you email the person? Then you'll know.
Right. Well, I guess, yeah. Well, when they said they were a city council person, and I actually, because my city councilwoman is Joyce Che, the person who intercepted the flyer at my house, I asked, was this the person who you saw? And she had said yes. So.
What is the question?
Did you come to my house with this flyer?
Oh, you want to know whether I came. I was trying to understand what your response was or what you were looking for. I definitely came to the house with that flyer.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Right.
Well, my comment then is that I would say there are 3 issues as a citizen I'm really concerned with this flyer. First of all, Wheat Ridge is spelled wrong. Secondly, because there was no name or attribution listed on the flyer, I don't see that as responsible as a city council person bringing that to my house. It should have some sort of information as to who's purporting this information. And third, I think the language of the flyer is really negative. And the kind of politics that living in this community I don't think are necessary. Red herring language that is really inappropriate. And I'm offended as a citizen. If this is a grassroots citizen community thing, that's one thing. Somebody comes by my house, drops off a flyer. But for a city council person to do that, I think it's inappropriate, unprofessional. Thank you.
I don't think the language was intended to be anything but accurate. It was not at all demeaning any person involved with the program, but more information about the situation.
And I would understand that the person who feels strongly about that would feel this language is stating their case. I just think there's a more neutral way to state the factual information around these ballot initiatives. I think that people who are not informed and not active in city government, I'm a new resident to Wheat Ridge, I'm a year in, I went through the Planning and Development Academy, I'm trying to be involved, and this makes me frustrated because I think citizens should be afforded just accurate information, both sides of the story. I don't even have a position on this yet. I don't even know what I feel. All I know is that this kind of flyer is not something I think is appropriate for a city council person to deliver. My crazy neighbor? Sure. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Please spell your last name for the record.
My name is Lloyd Levy. Lloyd Levy, L-E-V-Y. I live at 3275 Upham Street. And I didn't sign up, but I'd like to enter my name now and then yield my 3 minutes to Kim Calamino, please.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you, council members. Kim Calamino, C-A-L-O-M-I-N-O, 4070 Dover Street, Wheat Ridge. I'd first like to make clear that I'm speaking entirely for myself. while I might be a member of Wheat Ridge 2020, as has been pointed out in certain local publications, I am not speaking on behalf of Wheat Ridge 2020, but myself as an engaged and hopefully informed citizen. I'd like to begin by commending Council for appointing the Citizens Exploratory Committee, which included representatives from the citizenry, local business owners, and regional organizations with experience in the operation and effectiveness of various local governments and forms of government. Charging the CEC with examining the various forms of municipal government in concert with a study of our city charter was an excellent insight. I would like to note that the CEC was not charged with researching or examining the merits of the two ballot initiatives likely to appear on our November ballot. I would like to also commend the Citizens Advisory Exploratory Committee for their selfless dedication of many hours of research and search for outside impartial input, thoughtful debate, and deliberation. I would like to clarify that my previous comments to Council were intended to object to providing the initiative's petitioners an audience during the CEC's presentation. I found that inappropriate. It was the CEC's opportunity to present their findings, not the petitioner's opportunity to present their PowerPoint presentation. And I therefore found that it was inappropriate to juxtaposition the CEC's recommendations against the citizens' petition. Albeit, I will acknowledge that the question of altering our charter and our form of government is one that deserves all due open and informative dialogue, including consideration of the Citizens Exploratory Committee's recommendations. So to the extent that we accurately and repeatedly inform our citizens of what's available to them as they consider a very important question before them on our form of government, I think we do need to work harder at that. Therefore, I make a plea for the community to engage in a discussion led by this Council on fact and free from personal attack, innuendo, and insinuation. Proponents of the two initiatives have engaged in personal attacks, partial truths, and the kinds of negative campaign that robs the electorate of the opportunity of informed decision-making. Responsible media needs to provide fact-based coverage free from personal, petty attacks, misinformation, and inaccurate quotes. Only in this way can the media best serve their readership and the electorate. I urge Council to take emergency action, either through resolution or emergency meeting, to provide Wheat Ridge voters an honest and balanced choice on the ballot this fall. I resist those who believe that the electorate cannot discern between objectively stated choices. I object to the idea that Council is not in a position to value and honor the recommendations of its appointed Citizens Exploratory Committee. As a citizen of the 4th District, I call upon my elected representatives, Joseph DeMott and Tracy Langworthy, to put forward and vote in support of the addition to the November ballot the recommendation put forward by the Citizens Exploratory Committee. That recommendation is to make the mayor a full voting member of Council, honoring and respecting that position duly elected by the full electorate. Let's end the rancor, the politics of personal derision and misinformation, and show our trust and respect for the public to be able to discern, to understand, and decide on our form of government. It is my belief that our citizens will choose a form of government that establishes a true separation of powers, true representative government, and exercisable accountability as represented in the recommendations of the Citizens Exploratory Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Any other public comment before we move on? Well, he gave his time. He gave his time up to him. Oh, yeah.
He gave his time to him. I didn't either.
Hello, my name is Scott Reed, R-E-A-D. I live at 7180 West 48th Avenue, Wheat Ridge. I am part of the Wheat Ridge Tea Party Patriot Group. A number of years ago, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I figured I'd come up and ask one particular question. A number of us have heard last several months, in conjunction with the 82-year-old gentleman, in conjunction with the supposed illegals and the altercation that happened in conjunction with that, that Wheat Ridge is a sanctuary city. I would like to ask City Council and the Mayor, Chief of Police, if he so desires, if in fact they consider Wheat Ridge a sanctuary city, and if they do support it. Either yes or no, and if they'd like, if you could add a little comment, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Actually, Colorado is a sanctuary state right now.
I'm very much aware of that. That doesn't mean that Wheat Ridge has to be a part of that.
Chief, you want to respond?
I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to talk to you, Mr. Reed, afterwards. But Colorado, the police department, and the city, we have in place all of the requirements that are required by the state of Colorado in regards to Senate Bill 90. So we are not a sanctuary city. And I'd be happy to meet with you afterwards if you have any questions.
As far as City Council is concerned, what's their position? I'd like to hear from each individual City Council member, if I could, either yes or no, do they support sanctuary city applications or no?
I guess I would, before I would say yes or no to anything, I would like what you're asking to be better defined, because
I think we all pretty much understand the definition of sanctuary city. Mayor DiTullio just acknowledged that Colorado is a sanctuary state. So I don't think we need to get into definitions. I think we pretty much all understand what sanctuary city entails.
I'm not exactly sure what
It's
you
either
mean.
yes or no answer.
Well, I'm not prepared to say yes or no to something that I don't actually fully understand
And that's
what
fine.
you mean.
Before Mr. Reed steps down, does anybody else want to answer his question, yes or no? Mr. DeMont?
Usually, I spoke with Billy about this before, but I know usually we don't really address questions under public comment, but I did print something up for you because I had an idea that maybe you would show up. What I have here, if we can pass it to Michael, if you can pass it to him, is the timeline that was on the website regarding Robert Wallace's case, and I don't know if I didn't have one for you, but I don't know if you've seen it, but I printed that up. It might answer some of your questions.
Okay, great. The main reason, and Mayor DiTullio, we go back many, many years ago. We had a 7-year battle over the speed bumps on 48th Avenue. I don't know if you recall that or not. I was one of the main people that headed that up. And I figured I'd just come in, have a starting point, let's see what we got going here, and then let's just build from there, take it from there, point by point by point. So I guess if nobody from City Council wishes, besides Mr. D'Amato, wishes to address this in either a yes or no fashion, then I'll be more than happy. We'll go ahead and we'll build from there.
Councilor Singh?
Well, you want a yes or no answer, and I will say to you unequivocally that I do not believe in sanctuary anything as far as illegal aliens. So if that answers your question.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think that's it, looks like.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
What the heck? I don't believe in that at all. And
You don't believe in sanctuary city?
No, and Wheat Ridge is not, that I know or that I'm aware of. But
Sanctuary city. And you do not support sanctuary for illegals in the city of Wheat Ridge? No. Thank you.
See you on the 22nd.
Thank you.
Any other public comment before we move on to change of the agenda? Mrs. Adams? Well, you had an amendment?
I'll turn on for that. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to add agenda item 6, taking agenda item 6, currently the resolution 49-2010, giving notice of the calling for a special municipal election to be held November 2nd, 2010, to become item number 7. And the addition of item number 6 will be discussion by council on the Citizens Exploratory Committee. Thank you.
Second.
Second by Councilmembers Berry and Langworthy. Please poll the council on the amendment to the budget.
No, agenda.
Motion carries 5-3 with council members Stites, Demott, and Sang voting no.
Okay, item 1 is the consent agenda. Councilmember Langworthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Consent agenda, item 1A, a motion to approve award of RFP-10-24 Armed Guard Services to G4S Secure Solutions USA Incorporated. 1B, a resolution 46-2010 amending the fiscal year 2010 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $2,620 for the 2009-2010 Jefferson County Dog License Fund reconciliation. 1C, resolution 47-2010 amending the fiscal year 2010 police investigation seizure fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $4,480.35 for the purchase of police equipment. Resolution 48-2010 amending the fiscal year 2010 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $1,850 for the renewal of the Wheat Ridge TV 8 scheduling software. And 1E, motion to approve payment to Murray Dahl, Kuchenmeister, and Renaud LLP for July 2010 legal services in the amount of $20,264. Is a motion in order?
Motion's in order.
I move to approve 1A, B, C, D, and E.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councilmember Adams. Discussion on the main motion.
I guess I'd like to make one quick.
Sure.
Okay. As far as the 48-2010, it says that's going to come out of the general fund budget, but that money is actually PEG fees that have to be used specifically for our Wheat Ridge Channel 8 programming. So while it states general fund budget, it actually comes from a portion of funds that have to be used for this specific purpose.
Want to explain what PEG funds are?
Would you like to do that for me? I'll defer to Karen to explain that a little bit better.
Staff.
That might be better.
PEG stands for Public Education Government, and it is a fee that is on the cable bill that citizens pay, and the revenues are used for the broadcasting of these meetings and other public meetings and providing other governmental information to the community.
Thank you.
You have a motion for approval and was seconded. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public hearings, ordinances on second reading. Council Bill 16-2010. I'm going to open the public hearing. Councilmember Langworthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a second. Council Bill number 15-2010, an ordinance amending Article 1 of Chapter 26 concerning the provision for conditions of approval in the zone change process. The attached ordinance proposes an amendment to the zoning code to establish a provision for conditions of approval during the zone change process. Currently, the zone change process provided for in Section 26-112, private rezoning, recognizes recommendations from the Planning Commission and approvals by City Council for only approval or denial of a request. The proposed language will allow for approval with conditions in order to legitimize an approval with conditions during the zone change process. There should be enabling legislation included in the Code of Laws. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this amendment at a public hearing held on July 15, 2010. There were no suggested conditions of approval.
Will the city clerk please assign an ordinance number?
Yes, Council Bill 15-2010 will be assigned ordinance number 1470.
Is there anything more than the executive summary for staff report? Do we have anybody here to speak on item number 2 from the public?
Is a motion in order?
Oh, council questions?
Oh.
Discussion?
I have a question. Is this going to apply to planned zonings as well as straight zonings?
Generally speaking, it would apply to planned zonings, because that's the only, generally speaking, the only zone change request you can apply for at this point in time. Now, we're proposing that you could, as a private rezoning, apply for mixed-use zoning, assuming those districts are adopted with the pending legislation that we've drafted. But generally speaking now, private rezoning requests need to be to a planned district.
Yeah, I figured we were trying to move towards going back to some straight zone districts, and so that was kind of my question, is how this is going to fit in. And I see Mr. Dahl ready to...
Well, the changes to 26-112, which is the private rezoning section, so anytime there would be rezoning in the future, even if we're to straight zone districts, there would be the potential for a condition. And I agree with you that they're much more rare outside of the planned development or even a mixed-use rezoning context, but I can conceive of a circumstance in which you'd have a straight rezoning and it might be appropriate to have a condition. It's going to be not very common, but the changes to 26-112, so it would allow for that.
Yeah, I remember when we had this original discussion, and that it seemed like most of the other municipalities and counties too, and some of the case law was more towards being able to do conditions on planned unit developments rather than straight zonings. But if you think it can legally apply to both, then...
I do, and when we got down to figuring out how to actually stitch it into the code, it made the most sense to put it in private rezoning, because of really our limitations in our code are already pretty severe in terms of what you can get private rezonings, or the rezonings that you can do.
Yeah, I understand under the current. I was just more concerned how it would fit. I guess if we, then go back to, overall straight zone districts, I guess we could relook at that. But all right, thank you very much.
Any other questions from council? Close the public hearing. A motion's in order.
I move to approve Council Bill Number 15-2010, a proposed amendment to Article 1, Chapter 26 of the Zoning and Development Code regarding conditions of approval for zone change requests on second reading, and that it take effect 15 days after publication.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember Reinhardt. Discussion on the main motion. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Just for clarification, remember to turn your mics on if you're seconding, so that it'll be picked up on the tape. Next item on the agenda is ordinances on first reading. Item 3 is Council Bill 16-2010. Councilmember Stites.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Council Bill number 16-2010, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 concerning the creation of mixed-use zone districts. Case number ZOA 0907. Is a motion in order?
Motion's in order.
I move to approve Council Bill number 16-2010, case number ZOA 0907, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws concerning the creation of a mixed-use zone districts on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, September 13th at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion for approval of item 3, seconded by Councilmember Sang. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Item 4 is Resolution 45-2010. Councilmember Jay.
Resolution number 45-2010, a resolution approving a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $65,000 for the purpose of conducting a traffic study and roadway design analysis for 38th Avenue in conjunction with development of a 38th Avenue corridor plan. 38th Avenue between Sheridan and Wadsworth is one of the 5 priority areas for reinvestment and revitalization in Envision Wheat Ridge, the city's comprehensive plan. That plan has recommended the city develop a more specific corridor plan for 38th Avenue. The corridor is also a high priority investment area in the city's economic development strategic plan. Wheat Ridge 2020 strategic plan places a high priority on 38th Avenue. In late 2009, they commissioned a market study and revitalization assessment of 38th Avenue from the Department of Local Affairs, DOLA, and Downtown Colorado, Inc. The final report recommended developing a more detailed vision and corridor plan, as well as consideration for potential modifications to the street that might decrease the automotive emphasis it currently has. To properly develop a realistic corridor vision and plan for 38th Avenue, it is important to establish a clear vision. A large part of that vision will be the design, character, and use of the street itself and how it relates back to the private properties. In order to consider alternative designs, it is necessary to conduct a traffic study and roadway design analysis utilizing an outside traffic consultant to conduct these analyses. Staff has estimated this work will cost $65,000. Is the motion in order?
Motion's in order.
The recommendation?
Well, yeah, you make your motion. It's in the packet.
I move to approve resolution number 45-2010, a resolution amending the fiscal year 2010 general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation of $65,000 to be used for a traffic study and roadway design analysis on 38th Avenue.
Second.
A motion for approval, seconded by Councilmember Sang. Move on to the staff report.
Just briefly, I think that introduction really pretty much summarized the issue, but 38th Avenue is clearly a priority for the community. It's a priority coming out of the city's adopted comprehensive plan, Envision Wheat Ridge, which was approved not quite a year ago by City Council in October of last year. We're committed as a department to developing the corridor plan and primarily doing that with staff resources. We've already begun that process in terms of some of the data collection efforts. And certainly this will build off of many previous planning efforts and studies that have been conducted for 38th Avenue in the recent past. We have been fortunate to receive a grant from LiveWell Wheat Ridge for about $12,000 that's going to support some public outreach effort for that subrogate plan development and some visioning exercise through a consultant. The need that's been identified really more recently and subsequent to going through the adoption of the 2010 budget last year is this concept that 38th Avenue should be the city's main street, and if it's going to be the city's main street, we should take a hard look at whether, a 4 or 5 lane, in some cases, road section is the appropriate road section for a main street concept. So in further developing the vision for the plan, the idea is to bring in the traffic consultant to support a technical analysis that's really twofold. One, to look at if you considered options for reducing the number of through lanes, and you can do that in a variety of ways for 38th Avenue, where would the traffic go? So we can understand for our citizenry, where that traffic is going to move, because it will go somewhere else, and we have a duty to understand what those impacts are. The second component of the traffic analysis is really looking at a physical design. Is there a way that you could use the existing, behind the existing curb to curb and repurpose it in some way with, there's a variety of options, on-street parking, bike lanes, things that would just reduce the automobile emphasis, if that's the decision, ranging to complete reconstruction of the roadway in targeted locations. And and looking at some preliminary cost estimates as to, what options among those are realistic from a finance standpoint. So that's really the scope of work that we're requesting with that $65,000 additional supplemental budget request.
Thank you. Do we have anybody here to speak on item number 4 tonight? Move on to council discussion and comments. Ms. Sang?
Yes. I have been questioned as to why we need to spend $65,000 for a consultant to come in when we do have people available that are engineers up for the city of Wheat Ridge, why they can incorporate and do that work instead of spending the money on a special consultant.
Right. I think two things. Maybe just a basic question of resource. This will be a fairly time-consuming effort to really, on a parcel-by-parcel basis, look at what existing improvements are there, whether there are existing curb cuts that would have to be relocated or consolidated. So it's going to be a fairly data-intensive effort. From a traffic standpoint, I think the answer is we have engineers on staff that understand and can review a traffic analysis. They don't have the specialization in actually conducting the traffic modeling, nor does the city own the necessary software, which is a proprietary software that we have never budgeted to pay for that, and that's the modeling software that you need to use to conduct a proper traffic analysis. There is some also I think benefit from bringing in a third party, if you will, to validate this data, and then we can still review it, but to show that you've got an outside traffic expert that's telling you this is what the traffic is going to look like and where it's going to go.
And it isn't necessarily the case that we will spend the full $65,000. Is that correct?
It would depend what the submittals that in response to an RFP would come in at. We would certainly have a budget range and would seek to get the best value for our money.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Reinhardt?
I am sort of overwhelmed by the scope of this, and would be interested if you think that any of the identified items are extra or not necessarily necessary to get our program moving forward, or could be phased and put back if there's any opportunity to take it in bite-sized pieces.
Certainly that's a possibility. I mean, we have a fairly detailed kind of line-by-line approach to the different work products that we're looking for in that traffic analysis. I think in terms of the traffic impact study, that probably can't be revised, but it would really be more how much you look at that design aspect, how much you look at the costing, what level of detail you take the analysis of a future possible street section options. We've kind of given a fairly broad scope in terms of everything from using existing improvements and, for lack of a better word, striping them a different way to full reconstruction, and you could potentially scale back that range of study.
Would you be doing the traffic impact study first or independently? I mean, is it really basically telling you whether your lanes are adequate, or is it actually give you more than that?
I think it would probably be an iterative process, looking at what different designs might make sense from a physical standpoint and what the traffic impacts of those different designs are. So if what looks like a good physical option is two through lanes, one in each direction and a center turn lane, if that looks good physically, then you go and take a look at what that looks like from a traffic standpoint. And there's a range of options there. I mean, you could go down to a 2-lane section without a turn lane, and then you need to understand that would have additional traffic impacts in terms of cars going to other facilities.
Thank you.
Ms. Berry?
Yes, I'm going to go down to the podium to make my comments. had meant just to bring that to kind of just give it to Ken, but at the Carnation Festival, at the Live Well booth, we had this poster up here, and what we did is we asked community members to give their vision on 38th Avenue, and we had quite a few people come by. I was just there for Saturday afternoon, but even then there were Saturday evening, there were quite a few people who came by, and all these little Post-its here are the different comments or different visions that folks had for 38th Avenue. And generally, everybody really got excited about doing something along 38th Avenue. And the comments ranged anywhere from, put a skate park to having a median with trees in it to having more bike paths and pedestrian-oriented access to it. And some were streetcars, and the number of little Post-its here, there were quite a few people that if there was already the item up there, they didn't put a Post-it back on. So this doesn't represent the full range of comments. And so my point in bringing this across is people want something to happen along 38th Avenue. They want it to be very community-oriented, but the vision for it isn't. People have different visions for it. And each of these are going to take different possibilities in a different way that the road and the land uses are arranged. So it would be kind of nice to know what those full range of possibilities are for 38th Avenue, and through this public input process that we can talk about and vision with the citizens as to what they want along 38th Avenue and what's possible and not. And so for me, being able to do this detailed technical analysis, which is actually pretty paramount to knowing what our possibilities are very important. And Molly's here from Live Well. I don't know if she has any additional comments she would. Oh, all right, thank you.
Mr. DeMott.
Yeah, I just had a few comments. I know that a couple of the council members were absent for the study session that we went over this. There was actually only 6 of us at the study session. I just had an idea, and I've been, we're handed a lot of stuff, and we have talked a lot about 38th Avenue, but I know that we talked in the pre-meeting. We did do a strategic plan this year. There is not in the top priority, nor in the high priority, 38th Avenue is not in there. That is not a priority for us. None of us identified it as that. Management agenda, that was not identified as a top priority. 38th and Wadsworth strategy, and I have written Go Site, as I think we actually talked about that as a priority. I know that Wheat Ridge 2020 has been doing studies on 38th Avenue for 7 years. They've spent I don't know how much money on consultants and studies, and this is the most recent one that we received, and it's dated December 2nd, 2009. Front cover, it's a nice brochure. It has everything you need to know about 38th in here. There's a citizen questionnaire. The front cover has a picture of 38th Avenue. The first page has 4 pictures of 38th Avenue. Page 3, the introduction starts, welcome to the 38th Avenue Commercial Corridor Assessment. This is all about 38th Avenue. There's pictures of what the streets could look like in a 2 and 3 and 4-lane configuration. There's bike lanes in here. There's shop fronts. There's, we have the business district. We have Wheat Ridge 2020, the housing authority. All of these entities are working on 38th Avenue continuously. I think to spend another $65,000 to a consultant to an unnamed outside traffic consultant is crazy. I don't see anything that, first of all, points the council that 38th Avenue is a priority. I know we talk about it a lot, but I don't. As we get together, that was not a priority to us in the strategic plan. I think everybody's been down 38th, and we've seen the streetscape. 15 years ago, Wheat Ridge redid the whole streetscape. There's wrought iron, brick, fences, there's sidewalks, there's grass, there's trees, there's lights, there's blue neon around the lights, there's clocks. This is a picture of the streetscape that we were so proud of and still are for so many years. But this is asking for, and this comes directly from the packet. I'm not interpreting this at all. Specific design feasibility study. Identify RTD bus pullout locations. Determine locations of possible on-street parking. Develop alternatives for curb and gutter relocation or no relocation. Relocate the north curb, the south curb, or adjust both curb lines. Prepare the conceptual design of curb and gutter relocation. Identify the relocated curb ramp locations at all intersections. Pre-design for the new intersection curb ramps. Pre-design for the new curb and gutter. Investigate possible relocations of traffic signal poles. Installation of remote pedestrian push buttons and longer mast arms. Locate possible landscape areas. Develop preliminary cost estimates. I couldn't find a cost estimate or anyone who remembered how long this streetscape took, how much it ended up costing. And we still have discussions about, there are volunteers who mow this lawn, mow the landscaped areas up and down 38th Avenue. There are no provisions for the parks. There's no provisions in public works to maintain these areas, and we're looking at spending $65,000 on more streetscape signage. And in the packet, it names seven different tasks. In 6 of the 7 tasks, the responsible parties is Wheat Ridge 2020. They've done this over and over and over again. I had a plan, I had an idea for an alternate motion, and I would like to make a motion. I move to amend Resolution 45-2010 to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation of $52,000 to Wheat Ridge 2020 to continue their already progressing studies of 38th Avenue, and $13,000 to the Wheat Ridge Business District for additional grant money.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. We're back to the main motion as presented by Councilmember Jay. Discussion on the main motion. Councilmember Berry.
I just want to make a comment. I participate in the Wheat Ridge 2020 Planning Committee, and the document that you're raising up was a document that they did through a grant that they got from the Department of Local Affairs. They brought out a team of Department of Local Affairs brought out a team of experts who spent a couple days going up and down 38th Avenue, had a couple of citizen meetings to get input. They're experts in their area, and that document is essentially a conceptual vision of what they think the possibilities are for 38th Avenue. So the street sections there are planning visions. We have no clue whether those will work physically. When you start looking at grades, the amount of traffic, distance between driveway entrances, curb cuts, all those very technical elements that make that planning vision work. We don't know whether that will work or not. So that's what that's for. If you try to implement that without that data, you're going to end up having problems. You can have traffic problems. You could make it worse for businesses when cars are stacked outside and they can't get in and out of the driveways. What we're attempting to do here is to actually get some real data so that we'll know what the full possibilities are. It sets a foundation for what we may be able to do. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out and rip out all the streetscape that the city has already invested in at all. We're talking about in some areas maybe adding on-street parking, which would actually help businesses. Part of the reason why some businesses can't expand or relocate is because some of the parking standards. If we're able to prove that we could add on-street parking and give businesses some free parking and not impact traffic flow, and I live on, every time 38th Avenue closes for the Carnation Festival, I live on 35th Avenue and I get all the traffic. And there's other streets too that happens. So if we're going to implement some of these visions, make things more friendlier for businesses, more pedestrian access, we got to know we're not going to impact the neighborhood either. I won't be able to go home if I pass something and then it ends up I can't even get in my driveway either. My neighbors and my husband will kill me. So, it's expensive, but there's a cost to this because it takes real analysis. It takes going out there and collecting real data on physical, the distance between traffic lights and driveways, how many cars come, peak periods. You have to do a lot of analysis on existing traffic. Then you have to take regional traffic. You have to look at the land uses that are surrounding what people are doing next to you, what Denver might be doing in Highlands, and look at the traffic impacts there. So you have to look into the future. So you have to figure out what that traffic might end up being in 20 years from now. And that takes actually a lot of data. And those computer models that do that are very expensive. And so not every, small engineering department can do that. It doesn't make sense for them to order that kind of very expensive software that needs to be continually updated. In order to do that, you've got to collect data from the metropolitan area. It just doesn't make sense. And so that's why we're having a consultant do it. It's going to lay the foundation to be able to tell us what we may or may not be able to do in the future. And from what I see, and just talking to some of the citizens, they have a whole lot of creative ideas that they would like to see along 38th Avenue. I would like to be able to actually physically, or tell them physically whether some of that's going to work or not work in the future.
Ms. Zhang?
I think that it's come to the point, I was going to make a motion to split the question until I found out that these two would be done in conjunction with the same person. I think we've come to the point that if we don't bite the bullet now and do this study, as time goes on, it's going to be more expensive to do the study. We're going to get flack from the citizens that again and again you decided you thought that we thought you were going to do something, and again nothing was done. I think it comes to the point that, as I said at the study session, sometimes you have to spend money to make money. And I would hope that this study would also show what type of businesses would be able to go in there that would flourish and be an asset to the city. If we don't do this, my concern is that we are going to have nothing along 38th Avenue, which is the entrance to our city, but businesses that attract maybe the type of clientele that we don't want to see along that corridor. So for that reason, I will be supporting this. And I know that there's people out there that thinks that this is a lot of money to spend on consultants, and I'm not usually a person that always agrees to spend money on consultants, but I think that this is one that we need to do.
Ms. Jay?
Of course, I support this. I read it. I do want to commend Mrs. Berry because the report that was referred to was received via a grant that 2020 achieved. The report was over a couple of days. It's kind of like this is what could be. It's not a detailed how to do it. It's something to get us excited about doing it. And I agree it's hard to spend money on staff, but we keep our budget as low as we do, as thrifty as we are, because we do not keep an excessive amount of specialized staff. And sometimes the least expensive way is to reach out for a special project like this. So I will be wholeheartedly supporting this.
Mr. Dumont?
I just wanted to say, I am one of those people that would oppose spending $65,000 on this. I think that 20 years, spending $65,000 on something that may happen in 20 years is not worth spending. It's not worth spending the money. It's going to change 100 times. I didn't say this was bad. I think this is great. This is more information in here than I thought was going to be in here, and I've read it a few times. And I think it's great, and I commended Wheatridge 2020 for doing it. I think they deserve more to do more pieces like this. I think that they did a great job. Their office is on 38th Avenue. They drive it every day. They know what's going on in the city. The business district deals with the signs, the facades, and there's a questionnaire in here. And it was a thought-out questionnaire. It was handed to business owners and residents. There's 30-some questions in here, and the answers are in here too. And I would urge everybody, look at this. It's interesting. You know, under most of the advantages, it's the traffic, good location, the traffic. Disadvantages, it doesn't say anything about the traffic being bad. It doesn't say anything. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here. It's good. And I think that going back to the strategic plan that we did, our top priority, number one, the town center, not 38th. The budget, not 38th. Stormwater, solid waste, reserve policy, street utility. Nothing in there for 38th Avenue. Our high priority, number one, is Wheatridge 2020 and the relationship to the city. If we're not going to fund them and help them do things like this, and they just sit around and rely on grant money to do these studies, they're going nowhere. They're backpedaling. And I just feel like we need, if we're going to spend $65,000, we need to spend it addressing some of what is in here in these past studies. The comprehensive plan, how many years ago was that? When was that last comp plan? Last year? And that related a lot to the NRS of 2003. All of those had a lot to do with 38th Avenue. I went through the NRS again today. And, I mean, I stopped counting how many times they mentioned 38th Avenue. And I just feel like if we're going to do these studies every year, I mean, this was 8 months ago. And we just got this in the August 2nd or August 5th study session that we talked about it. I just feel like we're spending consulting every 2 or 3 months. It doesn't make sense to me, and I thought you know, if you want to spend $65,000 on an in-house consultant, Wheatridge 2020, that was formed just for that reason, I don't see any reason to go to an outside consultant.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Stites?
Well, let me give you some history, kids, because I tell you, 38th Avenue, even when my dad was mayor back in the 70s, they've studied it. They have spent thousands of dollars studying it, if not millions of dollars. I would think in certain cases, if you went to the closet, dusted off one of those studies, it would tell you exactly what we're trying to find out today for $65,000. 38th Avenue has evolved over the years. At one point, a lot of people don't know, from Sheridan to Wadsworth, there was 26 gas stations on 38th. There was 4 on each corner, at the end of streets and particular things like that, so it's evolved. The problem that we have on 38th Avenue right now, we have a ton of old buildings that are not conducive to business today. So if we were going to study something, to me, it would be smarter to study how we could, if anything, get these buildings up to par where it would be conducive to some type of business today. A lot of them are vacant. One is burned down that is my next deal. We need to see about, getting it torn down. It looks pathetic on 38th. And there's no reason for it still to be standing, quite frankly, unless they're, done with the investigation or whatever. But what we need on 38th Avenue is flexibility. I'm progressive. I want to progress in this city, but there's particular things that I think we have to prioritize. We spent a lot of money on a GIS system. To me, they could go up to that GIS system, lay this thing out, and just see what it might look like on 38th Avenue, where different things would be. It would cost us an awful lot less money than $65,000 on 2 studies. 1, to see if we could do it, and 2, to implement it if we, can do it. 38th Avenue is a major arterial. There's only, what do we have, 3 in the city. You got 44th Avenue, you have 38th Avenue, and you got 32nd Avenue are the only streets that go from one end of the city to the other. Lutheran Hospital is a national disaster hospital, so if something happens there, you got to get the traffic in and out. Now, I'm for beautification, and I think we can beautify 38th Avenue or 44th Avenue, but we happen to be talking 38th Avenue here tonight. But I think the way that the economy is, it's a pipe dream. But I think we can do it in particular ways that won't cost us all this money that's going to sit in a closet here in City Hall for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, till something decides to happen down there. But the bad thing about it is if I was going to spend $65,000 tonight, I would spend it on rehabbing some type of building down there, possibly tearing down some buildings down there. But the only thing that I can see that we need to, have on 38th Avenue is flexibility. I think 38th Avenue will come eventually if we, I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball right now. I don't know what business is going to be here in 10 years from now. Blockbuster, to me, is a prime example. They're closing because you get them on the internet. You can get them at, your movies at McDonald's or whatever. So there's going to be several businesses that go by the wayside. And I wish I did have a crystal ball to know what we need to plan 38th for in 5 years, what businesses might be here in 5 years. And that's what we need to think about, and that's the way we need to plan. Joy, I apologize for not seconding your motion, but I'm just not in the mood to spend $65,000 tonight for anything, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Jerry. I don't want to mix issues, but Mr. DeMott brought up the Wheat Ridge 2020 and appropriation of money to Wheat Ridge 2020 to continue on with their studies. Mr. Goff, we spoke this week about perhaps moving forward with discussing of the budget and where that sits with Wheat Ridge 2020. Are there studies, or do we have some stuff coming forward from Wheat Ridge 2020 with the next year's budget?
Funding request?
Funding request,
yes. We don't have anything in hand at this point. I think the intention is to have 2020 come to a budget meeting in October to present any funding requests they may have at that time.
Okay, thank you. I think that would be add clarity to allowing me to know about spending money in a particular area and just giving it to them. I need to hear from them to hear what, in fact, their wishes are and what direction that they're going. And also, it was mentioned earlier, the $13,000 to Wheat Ridge Business District sounds like a good idea, but I think we just did approve money for the Wheat Ridge Business District. Did we not, Mr. Goff? Was that just like a couple meetings ago? Did we not?
We did. We gave them an extra $30,000.
$30,000. So we need to look at their budgets before we just decide to put money towards that. I have no further comments.
Ms. Langworthy?
One quick one. I guess I want to make a statement in regards to Wheat Ridge 2020 doing the same work that we're asking to do today. I don't believe that Wheat Ridge 2020 has the engineers or the specialized program to be able to do this any differently than, we don't have it. I don't believe they have those skills. So if we only gave them the $52,000, as you had proposed, they wouldn't still be able to get this all done because they're going to have to put it out to a consultant the same manner that we have to. 38th Avenue it's broken. I think Mike will agree that it's broken, and unfortunately we lost another building there. I guess I would hope that this could be used in conjunction with working towards figuring out a way to make those businesses on 38th more successful. And maybe some of it is that we do need on-street parking to give them additional places to put their customers so they can. And so I will be supporting this.
Mr. Reinhardt?
Just speak for a minute. I kind of see this thing in two pieces. Sorry. I see this in two pieces, and I'm still not convinced that all of this needs or is useful to have happen right now. I do believe that the I have unfortunate experience with how much it costs to do a traffic impact study, and that particular piece, I don't know how we avoid doing it if we want to make any changes to if we want to even contemplate any changes to the street section or what we're happening there. I don't see how we can even start that without the traffic impact study and what's going on, because we certainly can't make any adjustments without being able to demonstrate that it works. Where I think I'm breaking down a little bit is that the specific design feasibility study is actually pushing towards doing what I would call almost pre-design for the construction documents, ramp locations, curb cuts, and it's a level of detail which I really question whether is useful and won't drift into the shelf somewhere for a while. I mean, if figuring out how the traffic flows allows us to restripe to gain some benefit at relatively low cost, I think we have to go there. I'm not convinced that we have to decide where the curb cuts are on a street that we don't have any money to build right now. So I'm really struggling. So I guess I'd like to make a motion to amend I'd like to move to amend the was it resolution? Resolution to include only the specific traffic impact study and the design feasibility necessary to identify a path that does not include ultimate reconstruction of the road for a reduced scope on that section.
Second.
Second. Do you have a dollar amount you're thinking of?
No, I didn't have a dollar amount in my head, but the half, 20,000, I guess I'll go. If I need a dollar amount to make the resolution proposed amendment work, I would reduce the specific design feasibility speed to $20,000 instead of $35,000.
We have a second by Councilmember Sang. Did you want to maybe explain that a little bit more to Patrick or Mr. Johnstone so they can understand it if it passes? 30,000 plus 20,000? Yep. Okay. Right. We have a second. Discussion on the amendment? Mr. Stites?
Yeah, I'm going to say once more, whether or not we have on-street parking, off-street parking is not going to make a hoot down there. It's whether we have brand-new buildings or new buildings that we can work with.
Okay, we have an amendment for 30,000 and 20,000, Mr. Goff, on the resolution, seconded by Councilmember Sang. Discussion on the amendment before I poll the council. Please poll the council on the amendment.
Motion carries 6-2 with council members Stites and DeMott voting no.
Okay, so now we have to vote on the main motion as amended. Councilmember Jay's motion as amended. Please poll the council.
Motion carries 6-2 with council members DeMott and Stites voting no.
Thank you. Item 5, Councilmember Berry.
A motion to include funding for a local match for a federal transportation planning grant application in the 2011 budget as part of the Wadsworth Corridor Coalition. Cities abutting Wadsworth Boulevard, as well as RTD and the Colorado Department of Transportation, have met to discuss the future of this important roadway. The City of Arvada initiated the meetings at the direction of their City Council, which has placed a high priority in studying the future of Wadsworth. The group has been meeting under the name of the Wadsworth Corridor Coalition. One of the primary motivations of forming the group has been to pursue a federal planning grant that could be used to study long-range transportation and land use options for the corridor. Specifically, the group has been preparing to submit for a Tiger II planning grant. This federal grant program is intended to fund projects that promote sustainable development that link transportation and land use and provide more livable communities, something we all want. The grant application requires a commitment of 20% local match. The match can be met with either in-kind resources such as staff time or cash outlays. If the grant were to be received, the local match would be needed as in 2011. We don't know how much match would be shared among the partner agencies and municipalities. That's still being determined. However, in order to submit a valid application, the partners need to submit a formal written communication to a minimal commitment, to a minimum level of funding. I just want to add that this coalition, I think is a smart idea by Arvada to put in that the Turnpike or Highway 36 coalition was a group of communities all along the 36 corridor, and under the first round of Tiger grants, they received the only award for the state of Colorado, and that was because they had that coalition together of cities and counties and business partnerships and RTD and CDOT. And not only did they get the federal funding, but getting that Tiger grant allowed them to be eligible for other bonding and grant programs that they wouldn't get, so that not only did they get that planning grant, but they were able to, it allows them to leverage for other funds that would make that entire update for that corridor possible. So doing this coalition helps us in our chances for the grant, and if we were able to get the grant, we may be eligible for other things that makes some of the improvements much more affordable to us in the future, and to be able to implement them and get them constructed in accordance with the planning grant.
Motion's in order.
I move to authorize the city manager to include $40,000 in funding in the 2011 budget to be allocated to a local match for a Tiger II transportation planning grant, and authorize him to communicate that funding commitment to the federal agencies through the grant application process.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion for approval of item 5, seconded by Councilmember Adams. Discussion on the main motion. Ms. Adams, or Ms. Sang?
My understanding is that, and I don't know all of the background on what CDOT has plans for Wadsworth Corridor, except the fact that they have pushed it back and pushed it back. They get you kind of excited and say, well, they're going to go forward, and then they push it back and they push it back again. And my only concern is on spending this money is that will this study be done, and then the timetable is pushed back so far that it won't even be relevant by the time CDOT decides that they are going to in fact address Wadsworth Boulevard. That's a real concern, because we've had promises from them before, and it just concerns me that to spend this amount of money and then it be pushed back again, and by the time they get to the point of really it impacting Wadsworth Corridor, that it's going to be irrelevant.
Ms. Berry?
Well, it's CDOT would love, I think, to get Wadsworth Boulevard done. There just aren't monies available to do it. And that's that's partly why we didn't go through with finishing the environmental assessment on Wadsworth, because in the regional level there aren't funds available. But if we're able to get this grant, it may allow us to qualify for other programs for bonding and funding that we currently aren't eligible for. So it may allow us to get Wadsworth Boulevard done in a more timely fashion. There's no guarantees of all of this, but like the 36 Corridor Coalition has found, it allowed them, and that's partly why they got the Tiger Grant, was it would allow them to qualify for these other programs to get this financed and get it done. So, I think it's a worthwhile investment given, this is a major corridor through the city. It's something we want to get done. It's a high priority. If any of these initiatives pass that affect transportation dollars, we'll never get it funded. Regionally, it's going to be really hard to, but this may allow us some funding sources again that we aren't eligible for right now.
And I guess that's my problem. The may. There's no guarantee. If we put money in our budget for things that go on at Wheat Ridge, at least we have some control over that. We really don't have any control over this.
So we have a motion for approval was seconded. Any more discussion before we poll the council? Poll the council.
Motion carries 6-2 with Council members Demott and Sang voting no.
Item 6, Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 6 is a discussion surrounding the Citizens Exploratory Committee presentation of August 9th. Oh, and that am I to speak now? Due to some unforeseen procedural situations, we never did get to address the CEC, Citizens Exploratory Committee. And I personally want to thank the committee for their efforts, their hours of thoughtful work that they put forward when the council came forward and asked that they move forward and do a study on the charter and thus the forms of government. What I have found out since, that this particular document that they have spent hours of time on has become read within the region, the state, and how now has been passed on to Washington, D.C., as far as studies and the appropriateness, the mindset, the thought process that they went through to be unbiased about the different forms of government and the ways in which cities manage and take care of their charter. With that, I would like to direct Heather, with the help of Janice, to prepare a letter of appreciation on behalf of council to be signed by this council and the mayor, if they wish, for their valuable service that they put forward. I think the document is a positive, informative document. I am pleased it's getting the recognition that it is, and I sincerely want to thank them for their efforts. The data that they have provided for our community is invaluable and obviously will be used throughout the region and in different communities, so I want to personally thank them for that. That's all I have. Thank you.
I don't think you need a motion on that. Does anybody have a problem with the letter being drafted up? So that by unanimous consent, it'll be drafted up.
Okay, so I don't need, it's a consent thing. Okay.
Well, unanimous consent. There's nobody.
Unanimous consent that the letter will be drawn up. Thank you, Jerry. That's all I have.
I had actually intended to speak on this in elected officials matters, so I'm just going to take a minute. I just think that this issue of charter amendments is so critical to the city, and I feel like I'd be remiss in not having ever said anything about it, and I had intended to speak a little later, but since it came up. I've spent a considerable amount of time and effort trying to review the issues over the last few months, trying to understand how the city has performed under its current form of government, which it adopted approximately 15 years ago. We currently have, or at till today, had two proposals to change the charter on the table. The first was the recommendations of the CEC and to change to a different council manager form of government to be more consistent with the standard for the industry. And I agree with Councilwoman Adams on the work that was done was very helpful, useful. The second, we have the proposed ballot questions, which have been brought forward to bring the city back to the strong mayor form of government that existed up until, or a form of it up until the change in, I guess, '96. and the form that's being proposed, as I understand it, is slightly different, and arguably the mayor's office would have slightly more power than in the original formulation, but that's not really incredibly germane. But I believe there's an that it's important to be careful in making a decision to change how we govern, and I'm particularly sensitive to any change which changes the balance of power between the branches of the government. And as a result of that conclusion, I believe that you need to have a compelling reason to be making such a change. What I find with respect to both the CEC proposal and the proposed, the ballot amendments, is that for myself, there is no compelling reason to be changing our charter at this time. Our council manager form of government, I believe, has worked well. We have had an extremely fiscally conservative government. We have no debt. We have amongst the lowest city taxes, both in terms of sales and property taxes in the region. We also have, our budget has followed along, even in this, the worst economic situation in more than my lifetime. Since the Great Depression, we have been able to match the city budget to our revenues, and have in fact had modest increases in our reserves out of our conservatism. But beyond the fiscal stability that's taken place in the current form of government, I believe we've created a forward-looking city over the past 15 years. There's been a lot of good work. It hasn't always been as realized as we'd hoped for, but I think that the neighborhood revitalization strategy, which got me interested and involved in this government, was a forward-looking document. We have a new comprehensive plan, which I believe is it will be a great guiding document for us over the future. We're now aggressively trying to use urban renewal districts to support economic redevelopment, and we've been, well, it's sometimes struggling, working to move forward with making our government more responsive and more open to business. I believe Wheat Ridge is a great place to live. We have wonderful parks and have managed to maintain our small town feel just outside a major metropolitan area, and we've done that under the current form of government. I do not believe it's broken, and I will not be supporting any efforts to try and fix it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Ms. Langworthy?
I'd also like to thank the CEC for all the work they did. For me, what I was hoping to get out of it wasn't necessarily a recommendation, but really an understanding of what different governments do to what the impact they have on our ability to do business as a government, and what pros and what cons each form of government can bring to the table. Because while each has a pro and each has a con, you know, the reality is that you have to look at the cons and how they impact the ability to move forward in a positive manner, and you have to look at the pros and hope that there isn't some unintended consequences to those that might negatively impact your city. So, I mean, I'm really glad to hear what they had to say. I think that they came up with an exceptional list of pros and cons, and for me, this is a very, very large opportunity for us to be able to go to citizens and not tell them which way to vote, but ask them to look into both pros and cons and weigh the measures and understand the impact of any changes to our city government. Personally, I would have preferred to take this recommendation and formed a charter commission, as our neighbor in Edgewater has done recently, in order to look at not only our government, but how our charter works for our government. How it is it effective? Are there changes that could be made that make our government work at a better pace? You know, over the years we make changes to our system, but are we actually making comprehensive changes? And to me, I think that's what a charter commission would give us, is the ability to look at our charter and understand its impacts and take into account all the changes that have been made, and really give us the best product possible to work with. Because our charter is like the Constitution. It's once it's in there, that's the way it's set, and no act of city council can change that without a vote of the people. So we really want to make sure we do have that best charter possible. And then I would like to make a brief comment a little bit off subject. At the last meeting where this was brought up, there was a slide presented with my name kind of supporting the two ballot measures, and that isn't exactly accurate. I did sign one of the ballot measures, but it was because I was asked to do that because it was apparent that, or I was told that all it was needed was one more vote. And so I signed it because I was at least willing to have that discussion. But to have my name put up on a slide implying that I support both ballot measures, it hurts me as an individual and as an educated voter, because when I go out there and I talk to people, I always take the opportunity to give them both sides. So I guess I just want to make that comment as well.
Thing.
I would like to agree with Mrs. Langworthy Ms. Langworthy, I'm sorry, about going forward with maybe thinking about a charter commission, not only for this, but there's a lot of things that as time goes on become antiquated in the charter and needs to be, the last one we did was in 1990. I was clerk at the time that it was done, and we had a charter commission, and we were able to take out a lot of things that no longer was applicable to the city. It's just like whenever the state goes through the Constitution and things that are antiquated and just taking up room and need to be done away with, that's what you do with them. I think it's a good idea to have a charter commission to start reviewing the charter and see what they come up with that maybe needs to be changed. I think that's a good idea, and I agree with Ms. Langworthy about that.
Ms. Jay?
As a member of this council, I want to express my gratitude to the residents to the members of the Citizens Education Committee, known as the CEC, and the 300 to 400 man-hours of work they did to thoroughly examine the possible changes suggested that would change our charter, significantly changing our form of governance. And in analyzing and thinking about what the CEC came up with, it made me realize how important the fact is that I am a representative of the citizens, and I am a proud representative of the citizens, and I believe that the citizens should have every opportunity to get information about this, and I would proudly discuss it with any citizen, not to put anyone down, but to at least give all the information I can about what this amendment or these two proposals are about. So once again, thank you to the CEC.
Ms. Berry?
It's my understanding that former council member Womble submitted a public information request asking how much money was spent on the Citizens Explorer Committee, but also whose idea was it and how did it come about? I mean, I think that he didn't need to file a public information request to do that. I put together the initial resolution, and in the beginning whereases, I put down why I thought it was important to have this independent committee of civic leaders and business leaders look at this. And I'd like to reiterate that. A major change in structural or governmental structure is a complex issue. Time and effort are needed to study the type and scope of any proposed changes. Structural changes to city government should be made very openly with care and debate, and all options should be considered and debated. And that's why I felt it was important to have a independent group look at all different options. Only one was being presented, and that's why I felt it was important to put this committee together. I think there were also statements made about it being a stacked committee or a committee that had litmus tests. I asked personally called and asked two people to be on that committee. I called State Senator Mo Keller, and I called former State Representative Sherry Jean. And I told both of them that I wanted this to be a real committee. I wanted them to look at all the issues. I wanted to come up with their own recommendations for them to consider all options. I did not ask them what they thought about the petitions at that time. I did not ask them to go one way or the other. After that, I had no contact with either of them, trying to persuade them either way. Frankly, there's no way I would think that either one of those two would. They are very upstanding citizens. For reasons that Representative Jean was not able to be on the committee, but those were the two people that I did ask, and I just wanted to make that clear. I think that the work they did was great. They looked at all the different options. They came up with a matrix of consideration. They looked at that very carefully. I think their process were very logical and thoughtful. They put in a lot of work to that. I think the fact that the International City County Managers Association in Washington, D.C. is looking at this as a model document and how to evaluate this type of thing shows and is a testament to the good work that they've done and to the knowledge and experience that these citizens put together. So I really wish to thank them for all the work that they put into this. I think it was unfortunate that this discussion got put on the agenda as citizens' right to speak and under a very limited. I really apologize. It did not give them that full, I think, credence to all the wonderful work that they did do. And so I really do wish again to thank them. I did receive several citizen comments saying that the quality and the level of discussion that the Citizens Exploratory Committee put forth what should be a model for council and for other commissions and boards for the city, and I totally agree with them.
Ms. Sang?
With that being said, Ms. Berry, there were 4 members of council that were not afforded the capability of putting members on that committee originally until someone had a pang of conscience and decided to bring it back and afford us the ability to put members on that committee.
Mr. Dumont?
I am a member of the committees that are pass petitions to put these 2 ballot questions on the ballot. Ms. Sang and I were on the committees from the beginning. We have on these petitions, we have over 2,000 signatures. These are people that we've talked to, went to their doors, knocked on them, explained to them. It wasn't an easy things to do. The people we talked to were in their houses, in their yards. They were here, they're residents. I think that if you need to ask for an Open Records Act to see who put the committee together, I think all you need to do is go back and look at the August 5th council meeting. When it came up, there were 5 people who were not surprised to hear it, and there were 3 of us who were very surprised to hear that this was coming forward. We had no idea that this was coming. Not in the pre-meeting, not in the study session. I don't know where that this was discussed, but it wasn't here. There was some surprise. I did support it because I knew, I think 9 out of 10 of the people, I think Ron Abo was the only one I didn't know. But, and I believed that they would have a fair outcome. I think one good explanation for the Citizens Exploratory Committee Education Committee, I think is what it was called in the beginning, is but for our petitions, would this committee have been formed? An easy way to prove that, if you go to the minutes, and I have the minutes, and I watched the meetings, and I listened to the meetings, and I read the minutes, and I can go page by page. I've highlighted every area. There isn't a page goes by that it wasn't mentioned that the petitions, the petition due date. June 23rd, the meeting, the petitions were in. It began at this point with the petitions out, the petitions being circulated. If the ballot initiative is coming out, are we changing all three by petition? Would like to have a copy of the two. They asked for copies of the two proposals. They asked for copies of the petitions. They wanted to see who was circulating them. They wanted, petitions, ballot issues, changing the form of government, petitions, changing the form of government, inviting the petitioners. Ron Abo actually pointed out there was an open agenda. He invited the petitioners. They said they'd give him unlimited time. On June 30th, members of our committee, Dick Matthews, John Marriott, Charlie Holzer, all went and spoke. And Wanda on that meeting. Mayor DiTullio spoke. These pages are filled with nothing but there's a petition out to change the form. There's a petition out to change the form. There's a committee, citizen committee. We heard a lot of people say they had no idea that the committee was out. They were shocked that they were supposed to come up with a recommendation against them, yet every single page of the minutes mentions a petition, a change in government, inviting the petitioners. The June 30th meeting was all the committee members went to speak. So I just have to say, I don't see why there had to be a Open Records Act to see what it was, why the committee was formed. But for our petitions is why it was formed. But for our petitions.
Ms. Langworthy?
I'd just like to make a quick comment about what you said, Joey. I agree completely with you. I would have preferred that the CEC committee was not formed as a reaction. But the thing is the ballot measures were passed, and rightly so, and put on they will be on the ballot because they should be, because a citizen did that. But I wish that the people that felt that this change needed to be done would have considered something of the CEC as a preemptive thing, instead of feeling like there needed to be reactive. Again, I will state that for me, if we're going to make a change to government, we need people to be educated. And the best way to do that is to take people that can talk about it outside of the forum of us. I will state this. I state this in public all the time. I'm a League of Women Voters member. And to me, it's very important that people have the opportunity to hear all sides of a story to make their decision, not my side, and not the petition passer's side, but anything that might be relevant. And so for me, yes, it was reactive, but I would have preferred, which wasn't really, I didn't really know that these ballot measures were going to be passed to begin with. And I'm not saying that had to be done, but for me, I would have preferred seeing something of this nature go through first, and which is why I brought up the Charter Commission. I mean, if a Charter Commission had been done, and that could have been looked at and decided whether or not really was broke or not broke, what kind of changes really were necessary to make our government better, I would have felt like I could have put my name to those ballot measures in all honesty. But what happened is, and the reality is that they were passed through a citizen initiative, and again, I don't oppose that. I just think that anytime we're going to make such a major change, we really should be more educated about it, and so that we sit down and look at the impact of what we're doing. And so, yes, I agree with you. I would have preferred to have had that discussion with the CEC in a different light, in a different time, in a different. But hindsight's 20/20, and I can't know that, but I would just reiterate that, the charter, it's such a major change, and once done, it's not easily undone. And I would say that we really need to make sure that if we're going to change our charter, that we know the actual impacts down the line, because this change has as at the heart of what is in there, but the petition, what it seems. But how will that affect the other part of the charters? How will it affect other things that go on in the city? And the thing is we really don't know. We know that the charter or these petitions do want to make certain changes, and I'm all about the people voting on that. Again, I would say educated, but how is that going to affect our charter in different areas? And in a perfect world, what's on that ballot would just only do this. But how do we know this isn't going to affect down here or down there or somewhere down the road? We don't. We don't know because we haven't taken the time to look at the charter. We don't know what it's going to do. And that's the problem I have with this. Isn't that I don't have a problem with petitions done by citizens. Not at all. I agree with it. I just think that it would have been better had it come for council to really just dig into it and see what the impacts would have been. Because, again, we don't know. We don't know. It's a constitutional change.
All right, so are we done with item 5? 6. Item 7 is Resolution 48-2010. Councilmember Dumont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 49-2010, a resolution giving notice and call for a special municipal election to be held November 2nd, 2010. This resolution gives notice of and calls for a special municipal election on November 2nd, 2010 to coincide with the general election on that date. The election will be coordinated with Jefferson County. The election is required to accommodate 2 citizen-initiated charter amendments and 1 council-referred ballot question.
Motion's in order.
I move to approve Resolution 49-2010, a resolution giving notice and call for a special municipal election to be held November 2nd, 2010.
Second.
We have a motion for approval, second by Councilmember Sang. Discussion? Please poll the council.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our agenda for tonight. We'll move on to city manager's matters.
Real briefly, we just would like to announce that we will be holding our annual Citizens Civic Academy. September 7th it starts. We have 10 applications, so that's our threshold to start the program again. We will still be accepting applications if anybody else would like to join us.
Thank you. City attorney's matters.
I'm on that program, so that either inspires people to sign up or not, depending. Other than that, and I enjoy speaking, by the way, at that academy, and you've allowed me to do that for a number of years, and it's a good thing, and I enjoy it. Other than that, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Thank you. City clerk's matters.
Yes, well, based on the actions of the last motion you made, which was to notice and call the election, as of tonight, that solidifies the actual items that citizens will see on their ballot unless changes happen sometime between now and September 3rd, which is the closing date, a date that ballot content has to be certified with the Jefferson County Elections Department. And on that matter, I wanted to brief council, both council, because there's been, some of you have asked me specifically if the actual titles, or the numbers rather, have been given to those ballot questions yet, and some citizens have asked as well. So just a brief explanation, the Secretary of State actually issues rules that determine how various questions, based on their category, whether or not they're an initiative or whether they're a referendum of a question, and it determines how those different questions get their name and which one comes first and second and last, so forth. So based on what we have the 2 citizen-initiated charter amendments, and we have the 1 council-referred question. referred questions in general always come before initiated. Therefore, the first item that voters will see will be actually be titled as item or question 2A, followed by the two citizen-initiated charter amendments. Those are given a question number in the 300 category, and then they are numbered in order based on the order in which the clerk, myself, certified those two. And those were literally followed by minutes, so that what they will see followed by question 2A is ballot question 300, which would be the budget veto amendment, followed by that question 301, which would be the form of government change. So I just want to inform everybody of that. Any other questions about that, more specific, you're free to call me at my office. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Stites?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank everybody for their hard work on the festival this weekend. I think it was a great success, and I want to thank the businesses on 38th Avenue going down the parade route. Everybody's business looked quite well, so I appreciate that. Based upon our discussion tonight, this really is a great time to relocate to Wheat Ridge, either your business or your home or whatever. If you need help, talk to staff or one of us. As usual, I ask you to do a positive thing. There are a lot of weeds out there. Try to help your neighbors, your neighborhood, even your own family. Clean up your own yards, get your weeds out of there. And as always, please try to find it and buy it in Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Ms. Langworthy?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone that school started today, so try to be a little aware of the young children that will be walking along our streets again, heading off to school. Would really hate to see any of them hurt because people kind of gotten into the habit of summer break, and that is done. Also, the soccer program has started again, and because of some of the financial constraints, people might feel trying to be having their children more active in sports. The city of Wheat Ridge, through the Parks and Recs, is organized a uniform swap. So if you have done soccer in the past and would like to do it again, but maybe be able to turn in your uniform for one that might fit more readily to your child, it's a free way to be able to exchange what you have and get something else that'll keep your child going. So I would appreciate if you get that, if you get the opportunity to stop by the Park and Rec Center and drop off an old soccer uniform.
Thank you. Councilmember Jay?
I do want to comment on the Wheat Ridge Carnation Festival. I think it must have been one of the best. The parking was clear up at my house on Carr Street, and there was 3 women that I think were really essential to this one, and that was Sherry John, Margie Cipher, and Diane Robb. They put their hearts and souls into it.
Councilmember Adams?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember DeMott?
Thank you. I'd like to thank my fellow council members tonight for a very fair and open discussion about the CEC, about the ballot questions. I do want to thank the members of the CEC. They did do a lot of work. Our city treasurer, Larry Schultz, I know this was a tough to make time for it, and we appreciate you making time. I also wanted to echo everyone's commendation of the Carnation Festival. It was great as usual. I think a lot of things that I get to see a lot of things that most people don't get to see, and that's the cleanup went incredibly fast. Saturday night they were out there, and by Sunday morning I went to work, and it was like nothing happened. It was great. I just want to commend all the park staff and all the extra staff they had to bring in, and everyone who worked on the Carnation Festival. Thanks.
Thanks. Councilmember Berry?
Yes, I have a couple of fun things. This is the time of the year where it's difficult to unload zucchini, since one plant can feed the entire city. But for those of you who have excess zucchini that you can't get rid of, or any other vegetable, through the Live Well Healthy Eating Committee, we have a membership with VeggieTrader.com, and I'll show the little. But you can sign on to VeggieTrader.com and you can trade or swap any vegetables, excess produce that you have with other folks who may not have enough zucchini or anything else. So that's one resource that you can use. And the other is there are several drop-off points for organizations that will donate your excess produce to those who are less fortunate. And one is the Jeffco Access Center, which is at Action Center. Thank you very much. At 8755 West 14th Avenue. And their website is jeffcoac.org. And you can drop off your excess produce during their regular hours at the dock. The Highland West Apartments, the seniors are taking excess produce and distributing to other seniors in the complex. And the Highland West Apartments are at 6340 West 38th Avenue, and the drop-off hours are on Tuesday and Thursday between 9 a.m. and noon. And I'll ask that Heather put this on our screen and on the website. And the other is the Carpenter's Cupboard, which is 9170 West 44th Avenue. And their drop-off is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So don't let it go to waste, and help out your neighbors if you can. And again, those resources were put together by the Live Well Wheat Ridge Healthy Eating Committee and Task Force, and Councilmember Langworthy has participated on that, as well as we've been looking at these issues through the Wheat Ridge 2020 Planning Committee, and Councilmember Jay as well as Councilmember Adams have been regular attendees at the Wheat Ridge 2020 Planning Committee meetings. On a little more serious note, I guess I was surprised to hear that there would be support for a charter commission to look at all the different city issues. When these ballot initiatives first came, my thought was we could take this opportunity and to look at our charter comprehensively to see if there's other associated changes we might want to do. I mean, it costs money to put stuff on the election, on the ballot, so instead of taking it piecemeal and having us continually looking at ways to improve the charter, I thought we could do it all in one fell swoop and put together a charter commission. My initial discussions with some of the community organizations was, well, we're not really sure we want to reopen everything, but that really was my thought of the initially of how this might be the most efficient way to look at things. So I'm just going to venture here and try something, and we'll see if it goes. And I would like to make a motion to direct the city attorney to put together a resolution or a emergency ordinance. You can do a charter commission by resolution, whichever's easiest, to put to the question, put to the voters this November 3rd of whether the city should establish a charter commission, and that we hold a special meeting on August 30th to consider that at our regular study session at 6:30, and that we reconsider, I'll have to get the resolution number here, sorry, and that we reconsider Resolution 49, 2010, if that resolution or emergency ordinance passes, to add that item to the resolution giving notice and call for a special municipal election to be held November 2nd.
So you're trying to add the ballot question on that the CEC recommended?
No, I said charter commission. Charter commission, not the CEC's recommendation.
Why do you need that on a ballot?
We could get it on the ballot by resolution.
A charter commission can be by any. They don't even have to be on the ballot.
You don't need to take that to the vote of the people.
We'd like to put the charter commission to the voters. I think that's the best thing to do, is to put the charter commission to the voters and let them decide whether they want to reopen the charter or not.
Is there a second for that?
Just a bit of information. I do want to inform the council that August 30th is a fifth Monday. There is no meeting currently scheduled?
Well, we would hold the special meeting at 6:30 on August 30th.
I don't think anybody understands your motion, Karen. Is there a second?
I can rephrase it if you'd like.
Well, I need a second first. Is there a second?
Could you rephrase it?
Let me rephrase it. We hold a special meeting on August 30th for the purpose of considering a resolution to place before the voters on November 3rd of whether the city should hold a establish a charter commission.
I don't see the point of rushing it, but is there a second?
Second. Oh, I brought it up in the first place.
All right, please poll the council on the motion. Second by Councilmember Langford.
Wait. I'm once again in my life, I'm speechless. You know, I have no idea why this is an emergency ordinance. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. This can be done without putting it on the ballot. I have no idea why you need to put it on the ballot. I have no idea why this is an emergency. It's something that can be worked on. It is absolutely ridiculous to put it on this year's election.
I second it because I guess I'd like to have the discussion. Even, I mean, if it fails without a second, then there's no discussion. So, what more weight would a charter commission hold being voted on by the people as opposed to just us saying to do it?
You can have the charter commission and members elected, so it could be the citizens can decide who's on the charter commission. I just think it would be more citizen representation.
Could that be done by I mean, could we, I'm all about fixing the charter. I brought that up earlier. I'm not opposed to fixing the charter. I'm just trying to understand the benefits of this, and so I guess that's why I want to have the discussion. I mean, personally, I prefer us talking about these things. I mean, it's easy to just say that we should or shouldn't do something and vote yes or no, and sometimes I think that people don't understand how much thought we actually have to put into coming up with any of these decisions, and I think that if we vocalize our discussions a little bit better, then I think we give our citizens a little bit more to work with. I don't know that it needed to be on the ballot. I guess considering what has happened with the CEC, I can understand where Karen is going with this. If the people of the city elect who's going to be on the charter commission, then there can't be anyone saying that, you know, I picked someone because they're my favorite person, or wanted to pick someone because they were her favorite person. It's a vote of the people. And so it's not necessarily, I guess it could ultimately be unbiased.
Well, if my recollection is correct from the last charter commission that we had, the information was put out that we were anticipating doing this. The council was wanting to have a charter commission brought together, and they did it by application. That people that were interested in being involved in the charter commission they filled out an application that came in, and I can't remember correctly, but I don't believe that there was any, people having to make a decision of who was going to be on the commission. We had whoever wanted to be on the commission filed an application, and that's who was on the commission. So as far as somebody like you or me putting somebody on the commission and having the other council members having a problem with it, that wasn't the case. And that's what I would propose instead of having them to be elected, because there's a lot of people that have a problem with what they perceive as running for an election. And they might shy away from it just because they have to be in a position to be elected to something. So I think that you're going to get more people interested in coming in and being on a commission by application as opposed to going through an election to do it.
Okay. So I guess I really do want to see this fixed. I mean, our Constitution is our charter is the most important document that this city has to move us forward. If there's not going to be support to put this on the ballot, I'm okay with that. What I would like then to say is that I would really like us to not drop the ball here and look at it at the next possible study session. Look at what it would take to get a charter commission going. What kind of questions we would want to put onto an application, because we'd want to get some people with some experience in different fields to be able to really look at all the parts and understand the implications of what it is. So I guess what I would say is, I guess I'd like to make a substitute motion. And let you talk first. I'm good with that.
Thank you. Wanted to thank you for that. Obviously, this is a good discussion. Mr. DeMott first, I think, brought up the Charter Commission, and maybe Wanda and Tracy, so I'm trying to follow the thought process. But the bottom line is it's a good, healthy discussion, and I like that on the dais. I think that's important. What I would like, Mr. Dahl, is for you to explain, please, the way a Charter Commission can come forward. Am I correct that a Charter Commission could come forward simply by in 1996, nothing went to the voters and the government changed due to council people? No? In 1996, it did go to the vote. Explain to me how the ways the Charter Commission could come forward.
Well, just to begin, in 1996, the council enacted an ordinance referring a charter amendment.
Okay.
And that resulted in the present council manager form of government that we have. But your main question was, how would you form a charter commission? Couple of ways. The council has the power by resolution to form one and to initiate, just to do that. Council also has the power, because it's got the power to refer any question to the voters. There's initiative, referendum, and then referral. And this was referral, just like the trash ordinance is a referral. So the council would have the power to refer to the voters a question, something along the lines of, I assume, shall the city council be authorized to form a charter commission to make recommendations on potential amendments to the Wheat Ridge Charter, such commission to be composed as follows, and not probably listing names, but putting forth the process for that. And that could be composed by application and then appointment, which is, I'm guessing, probably what happened. I wasn't here then, or it could be composed of persons who would run, or who would ask to be actually put on a further ballot, and then you'd elect members of the Charter Commission. The resolution putting that question in front of the voters would have to choose. We're asking you if you want a Charter Commission formed, and here's how it would be formed if you say yes. That's how you do it if you took it to the voters. If you chose to just do it yourselves, you'd just you'd create a resolution that says there shall be created a Charter Commission composed as follows, and they shall report. Any report of the Charter Commission, of course, then any potential new charter has to go to the voters, obviously, for approval. But those are the two ways I can think of that you could act by resolution to either form the commission and tell them go, or refer the question of the formation of the commission to the voters.
Thank you. At this point in time, I will not be supporting to move forward with a charter commission. I do feel that I would like this body of people to get in the room at some point, and we will have a session on whether, in fact, we would like to, and if we would like to, how we would like to proceed with that.
The main motion, the second, please pull the council on the motion by Councilman Berry.
Can I make a substitute after this one? Okay.
Tell me, say that again.
No, we're voting on Karen's motion. Well, we've already voted. She's going to come back and make a regular motion.
Okay.
Ms. Berry?
Point of order, she wanted to make a substitute motion.
I wanted to wait after you were done voting, because it gets too confusing, you have to vote twice on something. So please pull the council on Councilman Berry's motion. Pull the
Okay.
Motion fails 7-1 with Councilmember Berry voting yes.
No. I would like to make a motion that at the next available, not the next earliest, I guess, as soon as we can get one scheduled, thank you, Mike, a future council study session, that we look into this, because I still feel that it's a relevant topic to do. And while I really want citizens all right, anyways, I would like to make a motion at a future study session that we discuss a charter commission and all the things that we would feel necessary to make that a success.
Second.
This time next year?
No, I would hope that it would be for this time next year.
I was just trying to help you.
Not that future.
Study session on charter change. Second by Councilmember Sang, before the council.
Motion carries 5-3 with council members Stites, Demott, and Reinhardt voting no.
Okay, then we move on to anything else, Mr. Bearberry?
Thank you.
Councilmember Sang?
Thank you. I just would like to say congratulations to our city clerk, Michael Snow, on his marriage Saturday. And I hope it's long and lasting and productive. You know what I mean.
All right. Thank you very much.
There's no other comments? We're adjourned.
Wheat Ridge Channel 8, keeping you informed on events in your community.